Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. May you all rise to welcome the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, and the President of the Government of the Kingdom of Spain, His Excellency Mr. Pedro Sánchez.
I think this is mine. Yeah, that is yours. This is mine.
Thank you. You may be seated. Your Excellencies, President Ramaphosa and President Sánchez, ministers, senior government officials, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence with the official proceedings of the signing ceremony between the Republic of South Africa and the Government of the Kingdom of Spain. The two principals will witness the signing of 3 memoranda of understanding between the Government of the Republic of South Africa and the Government of the Kingdom of Spain, respectively, on cooperation in the field of sport, cooperation between the National Library of the Republic of South Africa and the National Library of the Government of the Kingdom of Spain, and on cooperation in the field of industry 4.0. Your Excellencies, President Ramaphosa and President Sánchez, it is my honor to request Minister Pandor and Ambassador Robedro to sign the Memorandum of Understanding in the field of sports. Minister and Ambassador. Thank you, Minister and Ambassador. May you please remain seated where you were. Your Excellencies, President Ramaphosa and President Sánchez, it is again my honor to invite the Minister and Ambassador to sign the Memorandum of Understanding between the National Library of the Republic of South Africa and the National Library of the Government of the Kingdom of Spain. Thank you, Minister and Ambassador. You may now return to your seats. Your Excellencies, President Ramaphosa and President Sanchez, I have the honor to request Minister Patel and Ambassador Robredo to sign the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation on the Field of Industry 4.0. Thank you, Ministers. You may now return to your seats. We have come to the end of the signing ceremony. I would like to thank His Excellency President Ramaphosa and His Excellency President Sanchez for witnessing the beautiful ceremony. It is now my pleasure to hand over to Mr. Magwenya to facilitate the press briefing. Mr. Magwenya.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, we will now kick off our media briefing, which will commence with brief remarks from President Ramaphosa, to be followed by His Excellency President Sanchez. Thereafter, we'll open the floor to questions, and we'll take 3 questions from Spain, and we'll take 3 questions from the South African media contingency. Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa.
Thank you very much, and we'd like to welcome members of the media from their siesta. Welcome back here. Your Excellency, President Pedro Sánchez, ambassadors and ministers and officials, and of course members of the media. It's been a real honor and a great pleasure to receive His Excellency President Sanchez and his delegation to South Africa. We have just concluded very successful engagements, which, as you saw, have been crowned by the signing of 3 memoranda of understanding. And we've had an opportunity to exchange views and ideas on how to consolidate and deepen the bilateral relations between our 2 countries. And we have underlined this with a commitment to make our bilateral relations work much more better, with Spain having a very great desire that South Africa should be a great ally and a friend, just beyond even trade issues, as it has manifested itself in a number of ways where we've been dealing with each other. I'm pleased to indicate that we've held in-depth discussions, yes, on trade and investment issues between our 2 countries, and have had the opportunity to look very closely at the areas where our 2 countries deal with each other. Trade between our 2 countries has been growing, and we are both great producers on citrus, with Spain being the largest citrus producer and South Africa being the second. And we both appreciated the role that we play in this sector of the agricultural landscape, And we also raised issues that we see impeding our trade dealings, particularly in relation to Europe. And we asked President Sanchez and his delegation to have these matters raised because we would like to see solutions with regard to ensuring that our citrus does get through to European countries, particularly in view of the fact that a number of citrus producers, we're seeing a number of black citrus producers coming through, and as we are committed to inclusive growth in our country where all citizens of our country should participate meaningfully in the economy of our country, would like to promote more and more of our black people participating in this sector. And we do not want to see a situation where as they start to participate, there are restrictions and blockages and impediments in their way. Citrus industry employs well over 130,000 people in our country, and Europe is an important market for us and would like to see solutions being brought to bear on some of the challenges. I'm pleased that in our discussions with President Sanchez and his delegation, there's a commitment to address this matter and find solutions, and that is what has underpinned the discussions between us. Later today, President Sanchez and I will engage with business leaders from Spain and South Africa at a business forum. South Africa is greatly encouraged by Spain's interests and investment in sectors that are key to the development and growth of our country. It is only through collaboration, which both of us underlined and underpinned, as well as foreign direct investment and a growing trade, that we can overcome the challenges that we face as South Africa, which is poverty, inequality, and unemployment. We also had an opportunity to discuss issues of regional and international importance. South Africa and Spain are fully committed to preserving and strengthening the rules-based multilateral system as the primary instrument for the resolution of conflicts. And in fact, we both underlined a very important aspect that is common between the two countries, that we support the bringing about of solutions to conflict through discussion and peaceful methods and collaboration. We pledge to work together to achieve a prosperous, secure, and peaceful future for those areas on our respective continents that are facing instability and conflict. With less than a month to go before the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, which will be held in Egypt, we discussed avenues for collaboration as part of the global response to combat climate change. We also had an opportunity to discuss the agreement that was reached at COP26 and reiterated our commitment as South Africa that it should go ahead and be implemented. We, however, raised the issue of the funding, and that the funding needs to be recalibrated as to enable us as South Africa to be able to embark on the transition much more effectively. South Africa and Spain agree that climate change, the loss of biological diversity, and other environmental challenges must be addressed within the context of sustainable development, particularly for those who are in areas that are vulnerable and will be negatively affected by the transition that we foresee. An important part of our collective responses to climate change is increased support for green, sustainable energy policies and technology. Now, several Spanish companies are active in South Africa, particularly in the renewable space, and we want to see such investments expanded. This is a call that I'll be making at the Business Forum later today when we meet business people from both sides. We welcome Spain's interest in collaborating on our national effort to achieve a just transition and a low carbon, climate change resilient economy and society. President Sanchez and I reaffirmed the bonds of friendship and solidarity that exist between our two nations. We took time to express our gratitude to Spain for the support that they demonstrated in providing financial resources to COVAX during the height of the pandemic. COVAX, which was a facility and funding facility that was set up to fund the acquisition of vaccines for developing world countries. We also took time to thank Spain for making up to 60 million doses of vaccines available, especially to African countries. We were also able to express our gratitude for Spain's support to the initiative that India and South Africa had put forward to the World Trading Organization with regard to the waiver of the TRIPS regulation. And we look forward to the continued engagement between Spain and South Africa on a number of other areas. We believe that our relationship with Spain is firm and it can only grow better and stronger as we continue with our engagements. And of course, the small print in that agreement that we've signed on sport was also to remind Spain that we enabled Spain to win the 2010 FIFA World Cup, and in every support that they can offer, they must also remember that we were very, very kind to them, and they became world champions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I can tell you, all Spaniards, we remember the goal that Andrés Iniesta made in that very important final for the history of the Spanish soccer national team. Allow me to intervene in Spanish. Buenas tardes. Comparezco para dar cuenta de esta gira que me ha llevado a visitar en 2 días Kenia y Sudáfrica. Como saben muchos de los medios de comunicación españoles que nos acompañan, esta es la primera visita oficial de un presidente de gobierno de España a 2 países fundamentales en nuestra visión para África, continente con una importancia geoestratégica creciente y clave en la acción exterior de nuestro país. España quiere establecer sólidas alianzas con los países africanos para hacer frente juntos a los retos que tenemos compartidos. El presidente Ramaphosa los ha explicitado bien. La emergencia climática, sin duda alguna, es la más importante. La transición energética que conlleva esa emergencia climática, la revolución tecnológica, la seguridad alimentaria ahora mismo afectada como consecuencia de la crisis de Ucrania o los movimientos migratorios. He trasladado al presidente Ramaphosa la firme determinación del Gobierno de España y del conjunto del país de reforzar nuestras relaciones bilaterales con Sudáfrica, tanto las políticas como económicas y las comerciales, por citar las más relevantes. Sudáfrica tiene un enorme potencial. sus capacidades económicas, demográficas, le otorgan la capacidad de poder crear grandes oportunidades para su sociedad y también para el conjunto del continente africano. Y es al mismo tiempo un país exportador de estabilidad, que me gustaría subrayarlo en esta intervención. Ambos elementos convierten a Sudáfrica en un actor fundamental en la estrategia global hacia la región que mantiene el Gobierno de España. Así lo refleja nuestro tercer Plan África, el Foco África 2023, que considera a Sudáfrica como un país ancla con quien debemos reforzar nuestra relación bilateral y nuestra colaboración en los ámbitos multilaterales y regionales. En la reunión que he mantenido con el presidente Ramaphosa, al cual quiero agradecer su hospitalidad, y también al conjunto de miembros del Gobierno de Sudáfrica que nos han acompañado en la reunión bilateral que hemos tenido, hemos constatado que existen enormes oportunidades en diversos sectores para reforzar nuestras relaciones bilaterales y profundizar en ellas. En un contexto internacional marcado, por un lado, por una extraordinaria incertidumbre derivada de la invasión de Rusia a Ucrania y, por otro, por la recuperación económica tras la pandemia del COVID-19, creo que Sudáfrica juega un importante papel estabilizador en la región. Nuestros dos países comparten su compromiso con el multilateralismo, con un orden internacional basado en reglas y con el respeto a los derechos humanos. Y esa visión compartida es una excelente base para ampliar el ámbito de colaboración bilateral, así como en foros multilaterales, como es el caso de la COP27, que se va a celebrar en breve en Egipto, o la cumbre del G20 en Indonesia, que tendrá lugar durante las próximas semanas. Y por eso hoy hemos adoptado una declaración conjunta para impulsar nuestras relaciones en distintos ámbitos. La declaración está centrada en los valores que compartimos ambas sociedades, ambas naciones. El compromiso de un orden internacional basado en normas de acuerdo a la Carta de Naciones Unidas, la apuesta por la concertación regional y también hemos firmado memorandos de entendimiento para impulsar la colaboración en materia deportiva y cultural. Y en el plano económico queremos aumentar de manera significativa nuestras relaciones comerciales, inversiones de cooperación industrial. Esta tarde, lo ha dicho el presidente Ramaphosa, vamos a participar ambos en un importante foro empresarial hispano-sudafricano que nos va a permitir a nuestras empresas conocer de primera mano las oportunidades de negocio que representa Sudáfrica. He trasladado también al presidente Ramaphosa la disponibilidad de apoyo financiero, en particular en el ámbito de las energías renovables, de la gestión del agua, de las infraestructuras, para impulsar la inversión en el país y, en concreto, vamos a poner a disposición de Sudáfrica una cantidad de hasta 2.115 millones de euros en los próximos 5 años. Esta cifra se va a articular a través de nuestros distintos instrumentos de financiación público y con el objetivo de acompañar a las empresas españolas en la implementación de los planes de desarrollo del Gobierno sudafricano. En el ámbito económico hemos firmado también un memorando de entendimiento para la industria 4.0, así como uno entre una empresa pública que se llama Cofides, española, y su contraparte sudafricana para reforzar la cooperación entre ambas entidades. Y además, pues me gustaría también trasladar la invitación del Gobierno de España al presidente Ramaphosa para que pueda visitar nuestro país cuando su agenda se lo permita, a fin de continuar profundizando nuestra relación bilateral. Sí me gustaría concluir haciendo un énfasis específico en el ámbito académico, científico y de investigación, porque esta mañana me he reunido con varios representantes de la Asociación de Científicos y Científicas Españoles en Sudáfrica, la única de estas características en todo el continente africano. En fin, me he llevado una impresión maravillosa porque la extraordinaria experiencia que ellos tienen de estos científicos, de estas científicas, en muy variadas áreas de conocimiento en las universidades sudafricanas, centros de investigación también del país, están dando importantes frutos. Y ya se está explorando la posibilidad de extender este tipo de asociación a otros países africanos. Así que también Sudáfrica, querido presidente, está siendo para la investigación y la ciencia española una plataforma extraordinaria para poder expandirse al resto del continente africano. Nada lo ejemplifica más esta apuesta que estamos haciendo por la ciencia que los recursos previstos en el proyecto de presupuestos generales del Estado, que se está debatiendo ahora en las cámaras españolas, con un incremento del 4% respecto al ejercicio anterior, para continuar traduciendo en la mayor inversión en ciencia y en investigación de toda la historia de la democracia española la apuesta que estamos haciendo en este Gobierno. Y finalmente quisiera compartir con los medios de comunicación españoles que esta misma tarde tendré ocasión de visitar, después del foro empresarial junto con el presidente Ramaphosa, uno de los más importantes monumentos en la lucha contra el apartheid en Constitution Hill, en Johannesburgo. En fin, rendir tributo a los que en otro tiempo lucharon por la libertad, la democracia, que son causas que nos afectan y nos interpelan a todos, no solo es un acto de reconocimiento, sino también de una enorme gratitud. Es una obligación moral para cualquier demócrata, más si cabe, en un país en el que la lucha contra el apartheid y la memoria de Nelson Mandela son un símbolo que aún hoy ilumina e inspira al mundo entero. En conclusión, querido presidente, me gustaría subrayar que Sudáfrica es un espacio político afín a nuestros valores, a nuestros principios, que ofrece un enorme potencial y oportunidades para poder colaborar conjuntamente en los desafíos que tienen nuestras sociedades, pero también en los desafíos globales a los que se enfrenta la comunidad internacional. Y por ello quiero hacer una valoración muy positiva de una visita que reforzará, sin duda, la relación bilateral entre España y Sudáfrica. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. We will now open the floor to questions. And maybe we can start with our visitors first. If I can see a hand from colleagues from Spain, if you could kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you very much.
And start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ángel Carreira, de Antena 3 Noticias. Tengo una pregunta para ambos. Como han comentado en sus comparecencias, en unos días volverán a coincidir en la cumbre del G20 en Bali. Nos gustaría saber si les consta la presencia del presidente ruso a esa cumbre y si esa presencia fuera así, esto pudiera ser un buen momento, una oportunidad para buscar un acercamiento en la guerra, en la invasión de Ucrania. Y una pregunta para el presidente Sánchez sobre la comprometida reforma del delito de sedición. A usted no sabemos si le consta que el Partido Popular haya puesto como condición para renovar ese Consejo que no se reforme el delito de sedición y, si es así, si se mantiene ese compromiso de reformar el delito en el Código Penal. Gracias.
Mr. President, should I begin?
Yes.
Muchísimas gracias, Ángel, por sus preguntas. En relación con la primera de las preguntas, no, desconozco si el presidente Putin irá o no a la cumbre del G20 y, por tanto, no tengo, opinión al respecto, más allá de decir lo que siempre hemos reiterado desde el inicio del conflicto y que he expuesto también en mi declaración inicial. España, Europa, somos proyectos de paz. Lo que queremos es el fin de las hostilidades, el retomar la vía diplomática, que nunca se debió perder, y el respeto al orden internacional basado en reglas, que significa respetar uno de los principales pilares de la Carta de Naciones Unidas, que es el del respeto a la integridad territorial, la soberanía nacional y el derecho a los pueblos a decidir libremente cuál debe ser su futuro. Eso es lo que siempre ha defendido España, lo que reivindica Europa. Y, por supuesto, en esos parámetros nos vamos a continuar comportando hasta que, por fin, veamos un cese de las hostilidades. En relación con la segunda de las preguntas, a ver, varias cuestiones. La primera es la agenda legislativa de todo Gobierno. Y en una agenda legislativa, por cierto, que fue objeto de debate en mi discurso de investidura, yo manifesté cuáles eran las transformaciones, las reformas que en distintos ámbitos iba a plantear el Gobierno de España a las Cortes Generales. Esa agenda legislativa es evidente que durante estos últimos 3 años ha contado con escaso apoyo del principal partido de la oposición. En muchas ocasiones hasta incluso he reivindicado la necesidad de que hubiera un mayor apoyo en políticas y en reformas legislativas para hacer frente a las consecuencias económicas, sanitarias y sociales de la COVID, o ahora también para hacer frente a las consecuencias económicas y sociales de la guerra de Ucrania en nuestra economía y en el conjunto de la sociedad española. Por tanto, una cosa es la agenda legislativa, que se puede discrepar, se puede votar que no, cuantas veces uno desee. De hecho, esto el Partido Popular pues lo ha hecho con bastante fruición a lo largo de estos 3 años de legislatura. Y otra cosa es el cumplimiento estricto de nuestras obligaciones constitucionales. Y ese llamamiento es el que quiero hacer, porque estamos ante una crisis constitucional sin precedentes en la historia democrática de nuestro país. 4 años bloqueado el órgano de gobierno de uno de los principales poderes de toda democracia, como es el Poder Judicial, y la dimisión del que fue presidente del Tribunal Supremo y del Consejo General del Poder Judicial. Y, por tanto, al llamamiento de cumplir estrictamente con nuestras obligaciones constitucionales nadie puede fallar. Lo que sí que le puedo decir es que el acuerdo está listo, está preparado y aquí solamente falta dar una respuesta a la voluntad política que manifiesta cada uno de los grupos parlamentarios. Sí o no queremos renovar el Consejo General del Poder Judicial y el Tribunal Supremo. El Gobierno de España dice sí de manera rotunda. Repito, nosotros decimos sí de manera rotunda.
Thank you. Next question, Natasha.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Prime Minister. My name is Natasha Pri from SABC News. So, President Ramaphosa, I understand that the Prime Minister Sanchez had formed a minority coalition government in Spain, right? And seeing what's happening in the city of Johannesburg, in Ekurhuleni, what lessons can South Africa learn from Spain? More specifically, because it seems as if our country is actually headed that way. So what lessons can you learn? Thank you.
Well, I can say that.
Sorry, Mr. President. Sorry, another one. Sorry, Vincent. Just on the citrus, I forgot that. Just between the two countries, what were your discussions about the protectionist tendencies that are hurting our agriculture, specifically the citrus sector? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, on the issue of coalitions, there is a lot that we can learn from the various countries that have been well steeped in democratic parliamentary systems over a long time than we have. And so Spain and a number of countries have a lot of lessons that they can offer us, and we can also learn from the very positive things they've done and their mistakes. So as we also traverse our way through managing coalitions, we are also learning from our own errors and our own positive steps. And so let democracy be at play, but it's also underpinned by the rule of law. In a number of cases, some of the initiatives or interventions that have been embarked upon have been subjected to our law processes, constitutional processes. Some of them have been deemed unconstitutional and invalid, and we abide by that, confirming that South Africa is not only underpinned by human rights, but also by the rule of law. So as we traverse this journey, we are learning from others, as well as learning from ourselves. And as you may recall, when we drafted our own constitution, we took time to learn from the constitutions of many countries around the world. And some of the provisions we have in our own constitutions were learned from other countries. When it comes to the issue that we discussed and raised with President Sanchez, we also raised the issue, as you correctly say, of the citrus issue, as well as the restrictions that we see are being imposed so as to impede trade. And what we got from Spain is a very open-minded type of approach that this matter needs to be discussed so that we find solutions. And that is what we appreciate. We did not find a roadblock or a wall. We found a very, very positive type of response, which President Sanchez was able to put to me, which in many ways will go a long way in strengthening our own relationship. Because as I said in my initial input, we have almost 130,000 workers employed in the citrus and related industries, our sector, and these restrictions are putting those jobs in danger. And they're also putting in danger our own transformation process, where we see more and more black people, women and men, getting into the citrus industry, growing trees and producing fruit to be exported to other countries. We want to continue on that transformation path. We've been exporting citrus for more than 100 years as South Africa, and we've entered a new era where new players have come to the fore as our production increases, as we seek to broaden our market. And the last thing we want is to see restrictions that are based on measures that can be looked at and resolved. So the positive approach that we've had is very, very comforting to us as we will seek to find solutions to all these. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm informed that there is a challenge with the translation. Would like to request the ambassador again to assist us before we kick off the second question. If you could please assist us with the translation. Okay, thank you.
Carry on.
Second question from Spain. If I can please see a hand. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Iñaki Aguado from Informativos Telecinco in Spain. Thank you for hosting us today. Buenas tardes a los dos. En primer lugar, tengo una pregunta para ambos. Me gustaría saber si consideran que la presencia, que la Unión Europea está perdiendo cierta influencia en el continente africano frente a la influencia que pueda estar ganando países como China o Rusia. Me gustaría saber si han hecho ese análisis y si lo pueden compartir con nosotros. Y en segundo lugar, tengo algunas cuestiones económicas para el presidente Sánchez. Hoy se han conocido los datos de la EPA, se ve una ralentización se ralentiza la creación del empleo y me gustaría saber si el presidente Sánchez ve indicadores de cambio de situación, cuál es su análisis al respecto. Y por otro lado, me gustaría saber si sigue siendo optimista sobre el crecimiento económico de España en 2022 y de cara también a 2023, o si empieza a considerar que puede haber un cierto riesgo de recesión. Y finalmente, el Banco Central Europeo va a volver a anunciar una subida importante de tipos. ¿Qué cree que debe hacer la banca? ¿El Gobierno apuesta por moratorias en préstamos hipotecarios? Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Iñaki, por sus preguntas. En relación con la primera de las cuestiones, no lo hemos tratado. No hemos tratado la cuestión de China en el continente africano, también yo diría que en Europa y en el conjunto de la economía global. Y en relación con las cuestiones que ha dicho sobre, en fin, los temas económicos, decir varias cosas. La primera, yo creo que los datos de la encuesta de población activa que se han conocido hoy son positivos. Lo son porque están registrando por primera vez desde el año 2008 más de 20 millones de ocupados y ocupadas, estamos en concreto en 20.500.000 ocupados y ocupadas, con unas tasas de temporalidad nunca vistos, de un 20%, con una tasa de paro efectivamente inferior a la que nos encontramos cuando llegamos al Gobierno. Y, por tanto, si algo se demuestra es que la economía española, en este contexto de extraordinaria incertidumbre en el que desarrolla su actividad, está creciendo y continúa creando empleo. En segundo lugar, todas las previsiones económicas que no maneja solamente el Gobierno de España, sino también el conjunto de instituciones internacionales y europeas, señalan que España va a ser una de las economías que más crezca en el año 2023, con todas las incertidumbres que evidentemente ahora mismo manejan estos organismos a la hora de poder hacer previsiones, porque entre otras cuestiones vamos a ver qué impacto tiene y cuánto dura la guerra de Putin en Ucrania. Y finalmente, respecto a si hay optimismo o no hay optimismo, ustedes me han escuchado en muchísimas ocasiones decir que el Gobierno de España no va a caer ni en la autocomplacencia ni en la euforia por datos que estamos conociendo, como por ejemplo de la creación de empleo, pero tampoco en el catastrofismo. Creo que hay que trasladar un mensaje de confianza en las fortalezas de la economía española, que está mucho mejor preparada que hace años para poder afrontar todas estas turbulencias derivadas de la guerra y sobre todo, de que contamos con la política económica adecuada. Una política económica que basa se basa en 3 reglas fundamentales. La primera de ellas, en proteger a la clase media y trabajadora de nuestro país. Lo estamos haciendo con un escudo social sin precedentes en nuestra historia democrática. Quiero volver a recordar que este Gobierno ya va a destinar de aquí al 31 de diciembre casi 3 puntos de su Producto Interior Bruto para proteger a las familias, a las empresas y a las industrias de nuestro país. En segundo lugar, con transformaciones. Antes, con el presidente Ramaphosa, hemos tenido ocasión de hablar de la importancia de continuar desplegando las energías renovables también para hacer frente a este shock energético en los precios. Y, finalmente, en lo que representa el reparto justo de la carga de estas consecuencias económicas y sociales derivadas de la guerra. Ayer conocimos la cuenta de resultados de las entidades financieras. También conocimos la cuenta de resultados de las entidades energéticas y creo que unas y otras justifican la idoneidad de aprobar impuestos a las grandes energéticas y a las grandes entidades financieras, también un impuesto de solidaridad a las grandes fortunas en este momento en el que necesitamos bajar impuestos a la clase media y a los trabajadores y trabajadoras y que, por tanto, a la hora de mantener nuestro estado del bienestar, es decir, la protección social a la mayoría social de nuestro país, pues aquellos que más contribuyan sean aquellos que más tienen. En este caso, las grandes fortunas, las grandes energéticas y las grandes entidades financieras, como vimos ayer en sus cuentas de resultados. Y en relación con este último asunto que usted ha comentado, del endurecimiento de la política monetaria, saben ustedes que la vicepresidenta de Economía, Nadia Calviño, está hablando con las entidades financieras y, lo he dicho en muchas ocasiones, estamos desplegando un escudo social sin precedentes, como hicimos durante la pandemia, y el compromiso del Gobierno de España es total, es firme, es rotundo. Nosotros vamos a volcar todos los recursos económicos en, mientras dure toda esta crisis, proteger a la mayoría social del país.
Thank you. Govind?
Thank you so much. My name is Govind Wickles from Newsroom Africa. My question is for our president. Were you surprised when you saw the United States issue a terror alert for South Africa? And are you able to update the country on whether or not that warning was legitimate, considering that the date they issued it for is 2 days away? And secondly, for the Spanish president, earlier in October, the Spanish government wrote to the European Union requesting that additional measures be implemented on the import of South African citrus into the EU. Has South Africa agreed that those additional measures are necessary, or have you changed your position on whether they are necessary? Thank you.
It was quite unfortunate that the US government issued that type of warning without having had deep dive type of discussions with us. But following that, we were able to engage them and to get to understand precisely where this warning or information has come from. We are in the course of doing precisely that, because warnings such as those do send a lot of panic amongst our people, and South Africans should be best informed by the South African government, our agencies as they are getting better at their job of securing our people, are alert and are looking very closely at this type of threat, and they continue to do so. So any form of alert will come from the government of the Republic of South Africa, and it is unfortunate that another government should issue such a threat as to send panic amongst our people. So the South African government is working around the clock to verify and to look very closely at this message that came from the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. A quick response, I would say that the good news from this bilateral meeting that we had is that we're going to find solutions to this situation. And I think this is the main idea that I would like to share with of course, the public opinion, which is that we are going to work together also in Brussels in order to find solutions to this situation.
I'd like to add on that and say we did raise this issue with the President of the European Union, Mr. Charles Michel, when he was here. And we've raised it once again with President Sanchez. And we appreciate the approach that Spain is taking on this matter, because it's important that Europe should relate to African countries and also to our country, South Africa, on an equal basis. It should never be a paternalistic relationship. It should be a relationship of equals, but also a relationship that is based on our historical understanding of what happened in the past. We cannot wash away what happened in the past, the way that African countries were disempowered through a colonial system that held them back from their own economic development. We're now at a stage where we're seeking ourselves to develop our economies, and the last thing that we want, that is needed, is for us to be held back by strictures, by rules that don't really have a robust scientific bearing. And it is in this regard that we are raising some of these restrictions that are being put forward and saying they are restricting trade, but more than that, they are actually devastating the livelihoods of many people, not only in South Africa, but on our continent. And we would like, on a very sort of friendly basis, with good understanding between countries, that these matters should be taken seriously. And for us, time is of the essence. And we've seen slowness in dealing with these matters. And we want to reiterate that time is of the essence, because many of our people are unemployed, they are poor, and there's a great deal of inequality. And these are challenges that the northern countries, the West or European countries, must support us in addressing these, because they, in part, did play a role in disempowering many countries on our continent. So let's work together, and it is for that reason that I really appreciate the approach that President Sanchez has taken on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Last round of questions. Sophie? After you, Sophie, I'll take one question from Spain, and then that will be a wrap.
Thank you. I'm Raúl Peña from El Mundo newspaper. Tenía dos preguntas para el presidente Sánchez, si me permite. Acaba de decir ahora mismo que el acuerdo para reformar el Poder Judicial está listo, está preparado. Entendemos, por lo tanto, que solo falta la firma. Queríamos saber por qué no se ha firmado ya, qué es lo que lo impide o qué parte se resiste a firmarlo. Y también si podía asegurarnos o confirmarnos que ninguna persona que haya desempeñado cargo público estará sentada en el próximo Consejo General del Poder Judicial. Y sobre la reforma del delito de sedición, tanto su socio Esquerra como el principal partido de la oposición, el PP, le piden que concreten cuál es la reforma que planea o que estudia o que quiere llevar al Congreso el Gobierno. Quería preguntarle cuál es la propuesta que va a llevar el Gobierno al Congreso sobre la reforma del Código Penal, qué plazos maneja para llevarla y si la va a llevar a la mesa de diálogo que tiene previsto reunirse antes de que finalice el año. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. En relación con la primera de las preguntas, simplemente una matización. Me ha dicho candidatos que nunca jamás hayan estado en... Que no hayan desempeñado cargo. Nunca jamás. Yo creo que... Vamos a ver. Primero, en relación con el acuerdo del Consejo General del Poder Judicial. ayer se lo dije en un encuentro que tuve con los medios de comunicación, nunca como ahora hemos estado tan cerca de llegar a un acuerdo. Nunca como ahora. Y esto creo que es una buena noticia y da también prueba de la voluntad política de ambas partes en poder llegar a un acuerdo y encontrar bueno, pues una posición equilibrada para el Partido Popular también. Y la voluntad del Gobierno de España es manifestar un sí rotundo a ese acuerdo, a la renovación del Consejo General del Poder Judicial y, por tanto, al cumplimiento del mandato constitucional. Y poner fin de una vez por todas a una crisis constitucional que se ha agravado con la dimisión del anterior presidente del Tribunal Supremo y del Consejo General del Poder Judicial. Y esto creo que tiene que estar por encima de cualquier otra consideración. Uno podrá discrepar o no de la hoja legislativa, de la agenda legislativa del Gobierno, que fue objeto, por cierto, de debate en mi discurso de investidura y también en todas las iniciativas legislativas que llevo al Congreso. Y esa es la democracia. Es legítimo votar a favor, en contra, enmendar, en fin. Y otra cosa es el cumplimiento estricto de la Constitución al cual nos debemos todos, sobre todo aquellos partidos que se dicen partidos de Estado. Por tanto, yo espero que podamos desbloquear esta situación por el bien de las instituciones, por el bien de la democracia y, por tanto, por el bien de nuestro país. En relación con la segunda de las preguntas, me lo han escuchado decir en muchas ocasiones, el Gobierno de España considera, uno, que la situación hoy en Cataluña está mucho mejor que en octubre de 2017. Y, por tanto, en esa hoja del reencuentro de la superación de una crisis política que nos llevó a una situación absolutamente inédita en los 40 años de democracia, se tiene que resolver por cauces políticos. Se tiene que resolver, se debe resolver por cauces políticos. Y en eso está el Gobierno de España. Y a partir de ahí, creo que una de las principales lecciones que tenemos que extraer de la situación que vivió España tan dramática, de desencuentro, de quiebra, en 2017, es la necesidad de homologar algunos tipos de delito de nuestro Código Penal al contexto europeo, en el que nosotros nos desarrollamos, nos desenvolvemos y al cual pertenecemos. Y ese es el planteamiento que está haciendo el Gobierno de España.
Thank you very much. Sophie?
My question is directed to the two leaders. You spoke, Mr. President, about what happened yesterday in relation to the United States of America. When you look at the Sahel region, there's a serious challenge in terms of the insurgents, and you go down south, Cabo Delgado. Did you discuss the current problem of growing number of these groups in terms of fighting terror? And then the second question, the issue of COP27, you spoke about funding, Mr. President, or financing. What are the sticking points? And then finally, the issue of Africans perishing in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to cross to Europe. Countries such as Italy and Spain, you receive a lot of migrants from the continent, and they are being abused, harassed. We saw what happened in June in Morocco. Many died. What are you doing about this?
Well, I completely agree that migration is a common challenge that we, Africa and Europe, we are facing. First, I think that we need to address the issue of smugglers and human trafficking. Mm-hmm. Second, I would say that Spain is one of the countries that are developing circular, regular migration. Mm-hmm. So we don't see migration as a threat, but as an opportunity for the development of the country of origin, but of course the country that receive that migration. In the case of Spain, we receive a lot of migration from Africa, but especially from Central America and South America, mm-hmm. because we have, we share the same language, more or less the same culture. And lastly, I would say that it's important to cooperate with the countries of origin and the countries of transit of that migration. This is what we are doing with Algeria, with Morocco, with Mauritania. And of course, we are increasing our cooperation and collaboration with countries of origin, for instance, in the case of Spain, mainly sub-Saharan countries, the Sahel mainly, Mali especially. So, you know, I think it's important to see all the multidimensional, I would say, perspectives of the migration issue, and to have a humanistic approach, which I think it's important. No, I was remembering when you were asking this question that Spain, during the Civil War back in the 30s of last century, and over 40 years that we suffered dictatorship, many of our citizens left Spain and went to South America or Central America. Some of them went to Algeria, or even, of course, to many countries in Europe. So, in a way, I think that heritage, that history, also means that the Spanish society, I would say in a major percentage, is very open to accept migration and to integrate migration in our society or within our society.
Thank you. We did speak about the issue of insecurity around the world, especially on our continent, and we did zero it down to the conflict that's happening in the northern part of Mozambique, in Cabo Delgado. And we appreciated the focus that a number of countries that have been coming to the assistance of Mozambique are doing, and Spain is one of those that has offered assistance in the form of training. And we outlined to the President that South Africa, we have put boots on the soil, on the ground, and together with other countries in SADC, we are assisting Mozambique on the basis of our common solidarity in SADC, and we are pushing those groups back. And of course, there's still a lot more that needs to be done to ensure that there is full peace and security. And that is our main objective. And I very much also appreciated the message from President Sanchez in relation to that in the end we should also seek to find solutions through collaboration, through discussions, so that we can secure the peace. In relation to COP27, yes, there is an offer that has been put on the table, and as we raise the issue of the financing, we are also raising the adequacy of that financing and also the composition of that financing. And so we are going to be having discussions with our partners in this regard in a very positive manner to see how best we can navigate our way through the just transition so that we don't leave anyone behind, and particularly the vulnerable communities that are going to be negatively affected as we transit from one source of coal to another. So we are going to have interesting discussions as we go to COP27. Just to comment very briefly on the issue of migration, and I couldn't agree with President Sanchez more to say that we should also see the issue of migration as an opportunity where the contributing countries can be supported. And the one issue that we have often raised, which is another dynamic in this whole situation, is that sanctions that have been applied to various countries, and especially on our continent, sanctions applied, for instance, to Zimbabwe, are having a negative impact, not only on Zimbabwe's economy, but also on a number of countries in SADC. They are also having a negative impact on us, because as the sanctions weaken the Zimbabwean economy, Zimbabweans then tend to migrate and leave and come to our own country and other countries in the sub-region. They flow to Botswana, they flow to South Africa, to Namibia, and then they exert enormous pressure on us. Like you, we've always been, as South Africans, been very open to the inflow of people from various parts of the continent. But with economic challenges that our people are now facing through unemployment, inequality, the pressure becomes even greater. And we become concerned when countries that are applying sanctions continue to do so to weaken those countries that are contributing migrants to other countries, are disinterested and actually don't even seem to care what the impact is, because they are targeting certain either individuals or certain countries, and the impact is much broader than that. And we are saying those sanctions should be lifted, and we should be able to bolster the economies of those countries so that people can have less of an incentive to leave their countries to go to other countries, because their countries' economies will be growing. So once again, we call on the various countries that have applied sanctions, particularly on Zimbabwe, to lift those sanctions so that the economy of Zimbabwe can get back on its feet and they can be the economy that they used to be. And in that way, Zimbabweans who have left Zimbabwe will find great incentive to go back and to lead normal lives in their own country. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Your Excellencies, you may take leave of us. Thank you.
Wonderful. That is good.